President Obama urging Germany this morning, big speech, let the migrants in. He said that to Germany, and he's implying the same thing for us. Let them in. Roll tape.
You start seeing those who would try to exploit these fears and frustrations and channel them in a destructive way. A creeping emergence of the kind of politics that the European project was founded to reject. An us versus them mentality that tries to blame our problems on the other. Somebody who doesn't look like us or doesn't pray like us, whether it's immigrants or Muslims or somebody who's deemed different than us.
Naira Hook is with us, former senior advisor at the State Department. Do you think that that approach to immigrants, North African and Middle Eastern immigrants coming to America, encouraging them to come to America, do you think Hillary Clinton will follow the president's word on this?
Well, I think the approach you're describing, or the president's rhetoric, was largely that. It's not actually a description of how the policy or entry will work. It's more the theory behind welcoming people and America being fundamentally a land of immigrants. Now, the reality of the policy is that the United States is accepting the least number of migrants of all of the Western countries and has a very strict system of judging who gets into the U.S. From the Syria conflict zones. Germany, on the other hand, has actually welcomed migrants in large numbers, largely for economic reasons. Germany is facing a 1.4 million person, I guess, deficit in the workforce, and so they have economic reasons for trying to attract some of the skilled labor and unskilled labor that's coming in from Syria.
That's not their reason for importing 1.4 million North African migrants. Their reasoning is humanitarian.
They have 1.4 million. Let me clarify. They have a 1.4 million deficit, but they're accepting about 200 to 300,000 of that to boost their labor force.
Wait. They've already gotten more than 1 million Muslim migrants in their country, and it's not going down well.
You actually talk to their labor minister, and they seem to disagree. Now, I'm not saying that this is a gamble that's going to work for the U.S., not by any means. And frankly, Obama putting some pressure on the Europeans to keep track of their migrant flow, it saves quite a bit of pressure from the U.S. to having to do the same.
You're a little defensive, Naira. I think you know that this is a losing issue for the Democrats.
Oh, I don't know about defensive. I think I'm fairly strident in my views. I will give you that.
Yeah, but I think the Democrats are defensive on this one. If you put it to the American electorate today, let them in. Let's let them in. Let's let in North African migrants. Let them into this country. I think you'd lose the election.
Well, and exactly. That's not a policy that really anybody's going to advocate. Let's be real. That's not what Democrats would say. It's what
we are
most
waiting to hear from Hillary, aren't we?
So she has actually come out in broad support for humanitarian principles of immigration, but under her tenure at the State Department, again, the Syrian refugees, largely a crisis that was contained and limited to Europe, and the numbers really haven't changed dramatically for the U.S. So while there has not been a massive policy platform rollout, I don't suspect that you're going to see much interest from either side of the aisle on bringing in lots of Middle Eastern immigrants.
I think you're right there, Naira. I think you're dead right on that one. Next story.